Good morning and welcome to it. This is the channel that'll teach you how to publish magazines and as such build up a media empire. So we've been talking about the 4 pillars of having a successful magazine. If you can ace these 4 things, these 4 elements of magazine publishing, you will have the most spectacular magazine on the planet. You really will. If you can ace these 4 things, you'll have a magazine that is demanded by readers, subscribers, that is demanded by advertisers, that you'll have complaints from advertisers in that, why didn't you tell me, I should have been in that issue, etc. But you've got to get the 4 elements right, and that's what really matters. So the 4 elements are design, which is the visual, the look of the publication, it's the visual experience. The second element is content, which is the emotional experience. It's the words and the pictures that go in. The third one is reach, which is the circulation of the magazine, which is, if nobody's reading your magazine, doesn't matter how much effort you put into it, it's not going to happen. And the last one is frequency, which is how often the magazine comes out. So I've done videos on the first 3, and this video is about frequency. Now when we talk about frequency, we're caught between a rock and a hard place because of the fact that your frequency depends on, first of all, you don't want to publish without making a profit. You never want to do that, and I'll go into that in a different video, etc. But you never want to publish a magazine at a loss. I know that people say, yeah, but you know what, you run a business at a loss for the first 3 years, and etc., or your first 3 issues are at a loss just so that you can get something out there. It's all bullshit. Just ignore what people say about that. From your very first issue, you need to make profit. Magazine publishing is a very expensive business, and if you don't make profits, you're going to be sunk very fast. You need to keep financing each magazine as you go. So you need to make a profit. So that's your first concern when it comes to frequency. Your first concern is whether you can make a profit or not. So your first thing you've got to do is you've got to balance up the 2 things. The first is, do you have enough advertising, or do you have enough revenues on that issue? And the second thing is, how long can you go without having a publication, without eroding its brand equity or its popularity, etc. In other words, what I'm saying is, if you don't bring out a magazine often enough, it will erode the popularity of that magazine. In other words, people will forget about it. It's as simple as that. If your magazine's not in front of people, they're going to forget about it. So, but on the other hand, you can't bring out a magazine every month if you don't have the advertising support for it. Although there is something called, there is a publishing method which I'll do a video on. It's called ratio publishing, which ensures no matter how much advertising you've got, you can always publish. So I'll do this. Have a look on my YouTube channel for something called ratio publishing, and I will do a thing about ratio publishing that can show you exactly how you can make a profit if need be, etc., irrespective of. But having said that, there's another problem with that, and that is that you can't have a 24-page magazine because nobody will have not even an ounce of respect for that. So you've got to have enough advertising to have a decent sized magazine, and you've got to bring it out often enough. Now, the next thing is, don't promise to bring out a magazine monthly and bring it out quarterly and think it's okay. You've got to stick to your promises. That's the first thing. You've got to build up an amount of respect within the industry. So you're torn between things which are like, for example, do you have enough advertising support? Do you have enough revenues to publish? Number 1. And number 2, if you don't have enough revenues, how long until you've got enough revenues so that you can publish, etc. If you're going to bring out a regular magazine, you need at first to make sure it's bi-monthly. It doesn't matter what you do, bi-monthly. If you can't sell at least 24 ads. In other words, 24 pages of advertising, so that you've got a 48 pager. If you can't sell that in a 2-month period or a month and a half period, then then there's something wrong. There's something wrong with your sales process, or there's something wrong with your industry that you're in, or there's something wrong with your magazine's character. There's something you're doing radically wrong if you can't sell within that period. You should be able to easily sell at least 24 ads. In other words, have a 48 pager plus a 4-page cover. 24 ads in at least a month. You should easily be able to do that. If you're getting resistance, etc., just remember, and we'll deal with it in a separate sales call, but if you're getting resistance, just call more people. It's as simple as that. Okay, so how often do you bring out your magazine? Often enough that you don't lose your brand equity, or that people don't forget about the magazine, that it's always in front of them. And well, a great publisher once said that you need to bring out the magazine every time they finish reading the other magazine, which generally takes a person casually reading, they figured a month or so, but you and Ace Kunert figure, oh no, it'll take a week, so they bring out their magazines every week. Just by the way, you can pull a trick if you want to build up your brand equity and your ad sales are decent, in publishing every 3 weeks, but calling it a monthly publication. And what happens is you get out 14 issues in a 12 calendar month period, and it does wonders for your brand equity, because every time somebody looks, there's a new issue out, and I promise you that there's nothing like that to build up the popularity of your title. In any event, try initially at least for bi-monthly. If not, do quarterly. Never do longer than quarterly, otherwise people forget. Also, advertisers get very frustrated because they booked advertising with you and they don't see the advertising for months and months, etc., etc. And when they booked the advertising, the school of thought was, what is our marketing and our strategy now? So they say, well, we need to advertise this product now, or push this range now, etc., etc., because it's winter or whatever, and you don't publish until summer. Not a good thing. So bring out your magazine as often as you can. If it's a reference magazine and it's annual, that's fine. Just let everybody know it's annual, etc., etc., and that it's a reference publication. Frequency is very important. If you're not frequent, in other words, if you promise to bring out a bi-monthly magazine and you're always a week or two late, etc., etc., it erodes your brand enormously, not just with readers, but more importantly with advertisers, because they say, you know what, I can't rely on. And part of your cash flow trick is to get a deposit or payment up front. This is one thing you've got to get used to doing, so that you don't need overdrafts or finance, and you can, what we call bootleg, and I'll do a video on bootlegging, but you can actually just finance your venture without any help from anybody else and without relinquishing any equity in your business. Good luck. Enjoy publishing. Do it often.